when I say observation, I have two meanings. One is I myself, as a filmmaker, try to observe the world in front of me and make a film according to my observation. It's just like I said, I was fed up with making documentaries based on scripts, well, based on preconceived ideas, preconceptions. I wanted to be free from that and just get in touch with the world in a direct way. I didn't want anything to get in between me and the world. So I decided, okay, I should just look carefully and listen carefully about what I see and hear, and make a documentary out of my observation. Well, I should try to learn from the reality. So that's one meaning of observation. And another meaning is that I want the audience to observe what they see. I want the audience to. I don't want to tell the audience what to see, or what to hear, and what to think, or how to feel. So I wanted to get rid of all the elements which might obstruct their observation. So that's why I decided not to use any music or narration, or even titles to explain who's who. If you saw Mental last night, you probably noticed that I didn't even title Dr. Yamamoto, the protagonist. In a regular documentary, you usually say, Dr. Yamamoto, 7 years old, or head of the clinic, or whatever, which is obvious if you're looking at it. But you just have to do it. The rule tells you to do it. But I felt it was not necessary. These are the two meanings of observation. So I came up with the 10 commandments of observational filmmaking. Number one is no research. As I explained, if you do research and gain knowledge, you try to shoot. You are kind of forced to try to shoot whatever you know already. Like, probably if you are doing study too, probably the same thing might happen. Sometimes knowledge is useful, but sometimes it obstructs your observation, and it kind of interfere with your perception. If you have a preconception by doing the research, sometimes it's not so good. So I decided no research. It's not because I'm lazy. Maybe I'm lazy, but but I decided. I made a conscious decision not to do any research beforehand. And number two, no meetings with subjects. I decided to have no discussion about the scenes or about the film I'm going to make with the characters. Of course, I need to get permission to shoot, but as soon as they give me permission, I start rolling the camera. And I explained to them that I don't know what kind of film it's going to be, which is my honest feeling. Because I don't know. But I'm interested in you. Can I make a film about you? And usually they are happy to do that, accept my offer. So, but yeah, no meetings with subjects. And number three is no scripts. it's a self-explanatory. I don't want to write any scripts. And number 4 is shoot alone. I am, because I don't have any plans. I don't make any plans. I need to be very flexible, right? If I have a crew of, let's say, 5 people, I need to kind of, not only I cannot follow my instinct 100%. Even if I want to follow my instinct of shooting, let's say maybe I should shoot tomorrow too, or I should shoot here or there. If I have a crew of 5, I need to also consult their schedule too, or how they feel. So it kind of becomes more complicated. So basically, I decided to shoot alone, roll the camera myself, and also record the sound. And digital revolution kind of make it possible now. It used to be impossible. I mean, if you are shooting 16, it's impossible to shoot alone. But now you can. So I take the advantage of doing that. There are some exceptions. Sometimes my wife, Kyoko, she also a producer, comes to help me, but she doesn't deal with any technical aspects. So, yeah, I shoot alone, or possibly with my wife. And this is how I shoot. I have a microphone on top of the camera, and mostly handheld, because I need to be very, I need to move around and adjust my camera position, and so I need to be very flexible. But I also put some lavalier to sub characters which might speak the most in the scene. But sometimes that's impossible, so in that case I try to only pick up with the microphone. And this one is also from Mental. Just like you see, I often do not look at the camera or the monitor. I try to listen to the character, because that becomes more, it's important to make eye contacts. And number 5, shoot as long as it's possible. This is not necessarily the length of the days or period. It's more like about the scene. For example, when I was making documentaries for TV, let's say you are shooting a meeting, which lasts for about 1 hour. Film crew often just go there and shoot only 10 minutes because it's enough. You are supposed to put narration, so you don't have to pick up all the sound bites. You usually shoot only the first 10 minutes, having like long shot, maybe some close-ups, various people's close-ups, and also maybe some papers on the table. And if you have some catchy sound bites, you can construct the meeting. Even if you shoot only 10 minutes, you can pretend you shot the whole thing, and you put narration. And that's possible when you have narrations. But I cannot rely on narration, right? I cannot rely on explanation. So, or I'm forced to record everything and observe everything and see what happens. So yeah, shoot as long as possible. If the meeting is 1 hour, I need to shoot 1 hour. And that's the rule for me. So sometimes, for example, in campaign, there are many scenes where volunteers for the campaign just talk about whatever, like, which goes on for 2 hours or 3 hours. But when I decide to shoot that, I try to shoot everything, which is pain in the ass sometimes, but it makes you tired. But that's the only approach. That's the only way you can get the full depth of the gathering. And number 6, cover small areas deeply. Because of the way I do, I cannot cover many different aspects. It's impossible. You need to kind of limit yourself to a certain area or certain people and focus and go deeper. With the campaign, I only focused on one candidate. I didn't really cover other candidates. You feel tempted to cover everybody, but I didn't do that, because if I did that, I would probably end up doing nothing, actually, covering nothing. You feel like you cover everything, but you didn't really cover anything. So I usually decide to focus on very small area, very small group of people. Mental too, mental was only about this very small mental clinic. I could have covered like different hospitals or different like experts or whatever, but I didn't do that because I wanted to kind of focus on a small area and use it as a microcosmos. And you try to find some structures in this small world, because I believe some kind of structure, like it's like a how do you say ireko? It's like the same shape of the world is kind of within. How do you say that in
like
English?
Russian dolls or a box within a box.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's how I see it. If you look close enough to one small area, you usually find the larger world in it. Because I don't know, that's the way I think how our world is kind of built in. I don't know, but that's how I feel. So usually you could find the structure which reflects the larger world. So even if you are focusing on a small area, you are actually looking at a much broader thing. For example, in Oyster Factory, my brand new film, I tried to focus on this very small oyster factory in Japan, and then when I was observing it, I thought I was making a documentary about just simply an oyster factory. But then when I was seeing it, shooting it, I noticed on the calendar, it said November 9th, China is coming. What does it mean? China is coming. And I wondered. And then I started to realize that they were so short of people. The town is declining. The population is declining and rapidly aging. They don't have enough labor. So they decided to take new workers from China. And they're arriving while we are there. So I decided to focus on that aspect. So all of a sudden, this very small oyster factory became a microcosmos of observing the globalization at play. You see how globalization works, what happens. So yeah, oftentimes you are focusing on a very, very small area, but you see something larger. That's that's how I try to achieve what I try to achieve. And number 7, don't set up a theme or goal before editing. The same thing applies to editing process. When I make when I'm shooting, as I said, I try not to set up a theme or goal. But in the editing too, I try not to do that. You attempted to do that because you want to know the result of your own work. You feel desire, to know that. But no matter how tempting it is, I try to make myself open to whatever the discoveries you haven't made yet. So my editing process is very simple. When I'm done with shooting, I review all the footage. For example, Theater 1 and 2, I shot over 307 hours. I look at the footage, all of them in real time, and I transcribe everything. And it took me 6 months to transcribe everything. And I cannot outsource it because then it doesn't really it doesn't really serve the purpose. I need to look at the footage and observe, right? So I need to do it myself. But then when you see the whole thing, you have some favorite scenes, right? That scene was very, very interesting. This scene is not very interesting. You have some preferences. So I start editing what was interesting. So I start editing my favorite scenes. Doesn't have to be chronological, It could be the last thing I shot. Actually, campaign 2, I started editing from the last shot because the last shot was my favorite shot. Anyway, if you build your favorite scenes one by one, you end up having many scenes which are interesting to you, right? So, and if you feel, maybe these are the enough material, then you put them together in one sequence, and that's the first cut, which is like first draft when you write research papers. So this first cut is usually very disappointing, and you hate yourself. Why did I spend so much time making this shit? Because it looks so crappy. What's interesting is each scene is interesting to you, but when you put them together in a almost random order, it's totally doesn't make any sense. It looks so uninteresting. So, but I know this happens in the first cut. I know it from my experience. So I do not abandon the project and keep going. I shuffle around the editing. Like I usually use Post-it. I write every scene and put them on the wall and shuffle the scenes around, and you find connections or discoveries, like, this scene and this scene if you put them together, it makes sense. Or this scene and this scene, if you put them far apart, it's much more interesting. You make discoveries, and you also find new things by doing that. So that's what I do in editing. It takes forever. For Theater 1 and 2, it took me 2 years to figure out the 5 hours and 42 minutes film. And Campaign and Mental, it took me 10 months. But sometimes I have exceptions like Peace. It took me 4 days to find the right order, which is very unusual, but sometimes it happens. But anyway, yeah, that's the process of editing, and you gradually find out about what is the theme of this film from your material. You don't have a theme first and then get the material to prove your theme. It's the opposite. You find something interesting, and oh wow, actually this film is about that. That's the order of finding out. That's the more organic and natural way, I believe, because theme is just a concept, but you are now listening to, well, you are not really looking at the reality. You have more direct. You are in touch with the reality if you start with what you shot, and then theme comes later. That's how I believe. And number 8, as I explained, no narration, no title or music. That's a rule. And number 9, use long takes rather than short takes. Same, as I said, I want the audience to observe, right? So in order for the audience to be able to observe what's going on in the film, I need to kind of leave some room, enough room. If you chop up shots like music video, it's impossible for you to observe. It's almost like, yeah. So that's why all the propaganda films are very fast cut. Doesn't give you enough space to think about what you see. So I try to make the opposite of propaganda films. I want the audience to come up with a different feeling or different opinions, because yeah, film is usually have multiple meanings, or it's open to many different interpretations, and that's the nature of film. So I want to use that characteristic as much as possible. So yeah, my film tend to be longer than shorter, which is not very good commercially, especially in the United States. If you go more than 90 minutes, your film is too long. I get that reaction all the time. But I think it's not sometimes it's necessary to take a look at the reality long enough to understand something. But some films are short. My shortest film is about 75 minutes. Piece is only 75 minutes, and I felt it was enough time for this film. But some films like Theater 1 and 2, I needed 5 hours and 42 minutes, and it's natural, right? Some books are thicker, right, and some books are shorter. So, yeah, 90 minutes is a commercial reason, for the movie theaters, and of course, commercial aspect is very important for a filmmaker to survive. But at the same time, I consider myself more like an artist. So, for the sake of arts, sometimes you just have to kind of sacrifice for commercial success. But actually, Theater 1 and 2 did very well in Japan. Some people even skipped their work to come to see it. They took a day off to see the film, which is unusual, I think, but that happened. Yeah. And pay for the production yourself. You are probably beginning to wonder how I pay for the film if you don't have any script or synopsis even before you shoot. How do you propose it? You can't. I don't even know what kind of film I'm making. How can I propose it to anybody? It's impossible. So basically I pay for the production myself, and after the film is complete, I show it to many distributors, and if they like it, they take it, and we do commercial release. And I get back the box office and also like a DVDs or TV or whatever the income I get from the film, and I use the money for my living, and also I use the money to make my next films. That's the cycle I've been doing since 2005. So far 10 years, it's been working, and I'm surviving still. I don't know how much longer I could survive like that, but